Good afternoon everybody and welcome to this presentation today about our setting and what we're hoping to achieve in the future months here. Now obviously it's a lovely day outside, so I really want to thank everybody for coming in, parents and staff alike, and taking a bit of time out of their schedules to come in and talk about what we are planning for our future with Little Red Kite Montessori. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with a little background about why we are hoping to open this organic garden in our setting. Now, as you might be aware, I'm not sure if everybody is or not, but there is a small, well, large-ish plot to the side of our setting which is up for sale at the moment, and we are hoping to actually purchase that plot ourselves and to begin developing an organic garden for our setting in the plot probably within the next few months. Now it is a very reasonable price and everything, so we will be doing the budget later on. I'll be talking about that, but it's definitely something that we have thought about for a good while now and that we have been hoping to incorporate, but we just didn't have the space. Now that the space is available, it's something that we're really looking forward to. Okay, so obviously the organic garden is going to benefit the children in numerous ways, curriculum wise, resource wise, and also just getting out in the fresh air, you know. We also are hoping though to use our produce in the kitchen during our menus, and also to incorporate the community into our setting by hosting organic garden classes and different things like that. So it would not only benefit the children and families that attend our school, but it would also help benefit the community as well. Now we are hoping to give the children valuable life lessons about caring and also about nurturing living things. So basically we really just want to get them out and about and looking after something other than themselves, and give them that valuable life lessons that they are not the most important things, although we'd like to think so, that they are not the most important things in the world, and that they need to learn how to live in unison with the outside world and with nature itself. We are also hoping to make the natural world much more accessible to our children and to allow them to have a better perception of the natural world as well. So we have done a lot of research into organic gardens in the past and how best to incorporate one into a setting like this, and we have researched various methods and various types of organic gardening with children. So from community incentive programs right down to actual Montessoris who've done this sort of thing in the past. We've looked at different ones and we've come up with a couple of inspirations which we think will give a more accurate portrayal of what we hope to achieve ourselves. So the first one that we actually came across, which inspired a lot of our ideas and our ethos itself concerning the organic garden approach, was the Mesa Verde Gardens, which is in San Francisco. Now these gardens are actually based on a community outreach program for disadvantaged children and families in the community setting. Now these people might not get to eat the healthiest foods or to shop in the nicest supermarkets where organic or fresh is available to them. So what this community scheme is all about is introducing these children and families to organic healthy options, to food that is sustainable and they are able to grow themselves, and also giving them an idea of what a healthy lifestyle is about, getting out, being physical, growing your own food, and then eating healthier in the process. So that was one of our biggest inspirations, because we are hoping that the children will learn about healthy eating by growing their own food as well. Now, our second inspiration that we're going to show and talk to you about today is the Urban Farm Preschool, which is in Oregon. Now this is a preschool which is based on the Reggio style of teaching. So a lot of their curriculum, you might say, is outside, and it's all based in nature and how nature can be incorporated into the classroom as well. So they already have animals, they chickens, they ducks, they feed those animals themselves, they plant things themselves, and they go right through to harvesting what they've planted. And this is what we really want our children to be able to do, to interact with nature in this way. They also are brilliant for incorporating natural elements of the outside world into their own classroom activities. Like in art, they might print using some of the vegetables that they have grown, or they might use found objects like twigs and pieces of acorn to make sculptures. And they do a lot of different things with the outside world inside the classroom as well, which is something that we are definitely very excited about, and another aspect of the garden that we hope to incorporate into our own school. Now, our short-term goals, of course, are to purchase the adjacent plot and the materials needed first. Obviously, we want to incorporate child-size materials into our garden, just like in Montessori, so that the children can get their hands dirty and use the equipment without it being too large for them and too cumbersome. So we want them to be able to work in the garden with materials that they can use themselves. We're also hoping to organise a trip for staff members up to an orchard in Kilkenny, which already incorporate organic garden lessons into their orchards. So they have a small organic garden, and they teach people how to use those plants that they have grown themselves in their own cooking, and also how to just tend an organic garden basically. So we thought that would be great for staff to have that insight into it before we start bringing the children out and teaching them. Staff obviously need to know about it themselves, So then we also want to hire a landscaping consultant just to map out the garden, so that we can get developing it. Because obviously drainage and different things that need to be taken into account can't be taken into account by beginners in a way that would make the garden very easy to manage and control, and also to ask for volunteers today. Now I know you're probably shying away from that as I say it, but we are looking to have 2 full weekends where we set up the basics of the garden. We would love to have parents on board to not only help out but also see how this organic garden is going to look in the future and how it will work, so we can give you hands-on experience and also help each other to help further and better our own school. Our medium-term goals are to set up a composting bin using worms. So it's all going to be very natural and very biodegradable, and we're trying to promote sustainability here. So we will be using our own domestic waste and putting it in our composting bin with the worms, and then creating our own compost for the garden itself. And obviously the children will love the worms, of course, but it's just a very good way of us to not only be ecologically friendly, but also to show them how something in the world works, how worms make compost and how that then benefits the garden, and there's a cycle that goes around and around. So it's a nice way of showing the children how everything intertwines. We also are hoping to incorporate the garden into our seasonal curriculum, be it bringing them out during a harvest, planting the seeds in the spring, weeding, anything like that, so that the children see that this is a cyclical thing. It comes in cycles. There is seasons for particular fruit and veg to actually be planted in and to be harvested in, and to know that even though it's winter, there are still things that need to be done in a garden setting. So yeah, I think that will be very interesting for them to learn about the world and its processes, and how even if some of the land might be fallow, how there's still things happening and occurring in that part of the land that will help once we start planting again. We'll also be purchasing a large greenhouse so that we can bring some more warmer based plant life in, like strawberries and tomatoes, things that will, you know, prosper and flourish in a warmer environment, and also so the children can see that our weather might not be the best for sun planting, but there's ways around that and ways to include warmer based plants into a garden, just by using a little bit of glass, you know. We'll be planning obviously garden safety classes before the children go out in the garden, how to use the equipment in a kind of more Montessori style method. And we will be making monthly progress reports on our sheet outside on our bulletin board, and also telling the children about how things are going in the garden during circle time, so that it is a constant thing, it's always there, and it's a resource that can always be made available. Now, our long-term goals are, of course, to start using the foods that we grow seasonally in our own recipes and in our menus, but also to teach the children about things like preserving and making jams and pickling things as well, so that they can see that food sources can be used throughout the year, even if they're not in season. So it's a good idea, and also maybe it'll give you some tips yourself, because I definitely don't know a lot about this, but it'll be a learning curve. We will be learning about it so that we can give the children the knowledge that they need to go on and do this in the future themselves. We will be making use of crop rotation within the garden itself to make sure that the soil continues to be nourished and continues to be fertile enough to keep gardening with. And this is also a nice way of incorporating science into the garden and showing the children which nutrients the garden needs in order to keep sustaining this fertile and productive life cycle that it's currently working with. So in years to come, if we keep using this crop circle, that organic garden will still be productive in the future. And our biggest aim for the future is to acquire a chicken coop with about 5 red hens. Again, to teach the children about nurturing and looking after another living thing, and also to show them how an animal can be a food source, not necessarily a bad one, like not meat or anything, but an animal can be a food source and a pet, kind of. And then we'll also be hoping just to enjoy the garden as a resource, and to make sure that the children are enjoying it too, and it's living up to its full potential. So now we move on to the budget, obviously the big thing. So we were very lucky to receive a grant from Board BIA, because they were hoping that more settings and more communities would set up organic gardens and start beginning to impart this knowledge to young children and young adults. So they kindly donated €10,000 to us for our scheme, and they've also given us a couple of the materials that we will need to get started. So they've given us child-sized materials and equipment as well, which is extremely kind of them, and I'm so glad that we were chosen to receive this grant, because it's definitely taken a load off our setting itself, fundraising wise. Now we already have collected 8,000 in years gone by, and we have saved this up for a scheme just like this, a project which will help benefit the whole setting. So we're going to put that 8,000 to the project. Now we have 7,000 left to fundraise, and that could be, you know, anything from cake sales to, charity um, shave and dyes, different things like that. So we are hoping within the next couple of months that we will start earning that 7,000 for our garden itself, and we would love for everybody to participate in that. Um, Obviously, we have left aside 3,500 just in case. Now, this is in case there is bad drainage problems, or say something breaks, or anything happens. If we need builders on site, if we need to move pipes, if we need to do different things like that that we have are completely unforeseen, we have that 3,500 there just in case. Now, obviously, we still need to raise that 7,000. It goes without saying, we don't need to raise 3,500 and then hope for the best. We do need that 7,000. So we will all be coming up with ways to raise that in the future, and we hope that you would also volunteer your own ideas if you have any, and we can reach this target together. So moving on to the curriculum. As you all know, Astra is the new thing in early childhood care and education. It is probably the biggest thing at the moment that has started being incorporated into young junior and senior infants in schools, into preschools, into Montessori's, and it is a brilliant, well-rounded curriculum. Now, this is one of the reasons why this organic garden is very important, because Asher talks about the outside world and how that should also be a learning environment for the children. And in its exploring and thinking section, it talks about how children will learn to make sense of the world around them and how it works, and that they will learn about the natural environment, its features, materials, animals and plants, and their own responsibility as carers, which is one of our main priorities within this project. It's really what we are hoping to achieve and what we hope the children will get from it. So that is one of our biggest incentives for incorporating an organic garden into our school. With Montessori was always very inclusive of the outside world and the outside learning environment. She even promoted pets and animals to be included within the setting, and she also talked about how the land and the outside world, children learn through their hands, so they should be out witnessing different seasonal changes and digging their hands into the earth. It's a very sensorial experience for children to be out in the garden, working the land and tending plants and looking after chickens. It's such a all-encompassing learning environment, and it really teaches children how to be self-sufficient and how to also look after something and to take responsibility for their own actions. But another one of our priorities throughout this whole project is going to be how sustainable it is, and how we make sure that this garden is there for generations to come, and that children within our school are benefiting from this years down the line. So the way we're hoping to do that is obviously with the crop rotation, and by making our own compost, using different preservation methods to make sure that the seasonal foods are there all year long in our kitchen, and that we can incorporate them into our recipes for the whole year. Also, we are hoping to make sure that the seasons reflect our own curriculum and our use of the garden as a resource, so that the children get the most out of it and it benefits them completely, and that even the teachers will learn as they go on and as they teach about this garden with the children. Now, we also really hope that we will foster community in our school and in the community itself. So we feel that this garden, by gardening together, the children will become closer, and also by allowing children of different age groups to mix and mingle in that garden, we're creating more of a community environment within our school. Now, obviously, we will be organising weekend classes and different weekend trips to the garden for parents and for the community members. to come in and see how they could maybe set up an organic garden, or to help us out during harvesting times or different things like that. And also maybe we can start allowing people to collect produce in our garden for, for themselves and for their own kitchens. Now, obviously everybody within our setting is responsible for the garden itself, but if there are any questions directed towards someone who is, managing it, or a gardener, or maybe class leaders or anything, we have listed the different people that you can go to if you are feeling unsure or if you need a question answered. So the project manager is myself, Siobhan, and then we also have a curriculum planner who will amalgamate all the different classes into one curriculum plan that will suit everybody's needs, and that's Shona. Now, our recycling manager is Lauren, who is our chef, so she will be making sure that cardboard and domestic waste is reused and turned into compost in our garden itself. And this will really, really help. So even if you have domestic waste at home, you can always bring it into us and we will compost it. But that is entirely up to yourselves, obviously. And we also have a gardener on hand for your questions each week. He's actually one of our children's fathers, Daniel. So he will be making sure that it all goes smoothly, especially in the first couple of months, and that we're on the right track and that we're not killing any plants, basically. But yeah, so if there are any questions that you want answered, just send them in to me and I will make sure that they get to the right people, or I'll answer them myself if it's something that I am, happy answering, obviously. Now, that leads us on to questions here. If anybody has any questions, just let me know, and obviously I will do my best to answer them, and if I can't, I will get back to you as soon as possible with the correct answer. Okay, thank you very much anyways, and I hope you have a great afternoon now out in the sunshine.